let me go back to the dysfunctionality argument, because it has permeated throughout this debate. It probably came to a crescendo when Dolores Kelly was speaking, and during her tirade, she indicated that the executive had agreed nothing as she threw her arms out, that they couldn't agree on anything, and that couldn't take decisions for the benefit of the people of Northern Ireland. So we get it followed up by the Ulster Unionist Party. And it's not new. They've been pumping this out day and daily for a long period of time. As soon as there's a difficulty, and difficulties will always occur in government, they always talk about this dysfunctional executive. Assembly's not working, the executive can't agree. And of course, they have a ready audience with a press that looks for anything that they can cause controversy about. So let's have some more objective consideration of just what this dysfunctionality is, which could, and it is within the context of the bill, because it's a reason being suggested as to why we should not proceed. Because we do have comparisons to make. Because the SDLP and the Ulster Unionist Party, the two centre parties, who if only they could be in government, everything would be peace and light, the sun would shine every day, the children would be skipping in the streets, and it would be a wonderful life. And that's the message that they seek to put out. But let's look at the facts. The SDLP and the Ulster Unionist Party were in government leadership together, and they were there for a period of 31 months of devolution. 31 months. We have been, in these present circumstances, in 29 months of devolution. So the Ulster Unionists and the SDLP had more time than the DUP and Sinn Féin being in the leadership of the executive. So what was accomplished? How many agreements did the SDLP and the Ulster Unionist Party get through the executive during that period of time? I'll tell them. They got 194 when Seamus Mallon was the Deputy First Minister, and they got 126 when Mark Durkan was the Deputy First Minister. A total over the 31 months of 320 agreements were made. Now this lousy, dysfunctional executive that we have at the present time, clearly it couldn't meet the standards that were set by the Ulster Unionist Party and the SDLP. Clearly the 320 issues where agreement was reached in the executive was such a benchmark that we could never beat it. But in less time than the SDLP and Ulster Unionists had to do it, we have had 451 executive agreements. So we have significantly increased the standard. So if you're wanting me to give way? Is that pages he's talking about? Oh. We have had agreement on 451 issues in the executive, and with, I will in a moment, and with very few of them ever coming to a division. Very few of them ever coming to a division. Whereas about two-thirds of that number was the accomplishment in a longer period of time of these two parties who sit there sanctimoniously pointing the finger and saying these dysfunctional parties can't run the executive. We did a better job than you did. I'll give way.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's little reference to the bill. I note the latitude you're given to the First Minister, but Mr. Speaker, I think it's a matter of record that in terms of legislation that has been approved and agreements reached, actually some work being done. There's actually much more being done under the tenure and leadership of the SDLP and the Ulster Unionist Party. And Mr. Speaker, does the First Minister not agree with me that one of the most important things that must be dealt with in our society is to tackle the cancer of sectarianism? And yet what happened last week in the dysfunctional executive? Sinn Féin published their document, and then the DUP published on their own website the one that they had thought that they had secured agreement with Sinn Féin.
And in 31 months of the Ulster Unionists and the SDLP, they never produced any document during that period of time.